What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Winning Drive. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Winning Drive. And I am not alone tonight. On my right, you got the man, Tony Q, and you got Brian Attard from the Sportsbox. Hey, guys. How you guys doing? How's your week?
Drew, what's up, buddy? Thank you for having us. Week's always good. It's a fun time in sports world. NBA going on, NFL going on, and you have some college football. So it's a wonderful world of sports right now.
It'd be a lot more wonderful if the Cowboys weren't picking 10th. Picking third, fourth, Listen, hockey starts in a week. I'm okay. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, man, that's how I feel about the Chargers, and they're picking, 13th? So, I mean, it could have been, 3 weeks ago we were talking about it, Brian. We had you come on the show, and we were saying it looked good. The Chargers are going to pick a top 5 pick, and now they went from, there to pick number 13. So, I feel your pain. Pain.
And then I put a poll up about tanking, and you give me a thumbs down. I'm like, you liar.
Yeah, man, definitely. Guys, a lot to get into. Obviously, the wild card week is this weekend. We're going to be diving into that. We're going to talk about the coaching carousel. So many rumors out there. Urban Meyer may make an appearance in the NFL, demanding $12 million to coach. The rumors are saying the Jacksonville Jaguars are a hot commodity for him. We're going to dive in a little bit and talk about that. We're going to reveal our predictions on what we think who's going to win the awards. And we're going to also talk about our biggest disappointment and biggest surprise from this past NFL season. And then we're going to do a little bit of buy and sell like we always do. And then we're going to dive into the playoff games. I can't wait to get into this. I've been trying to get Tony on for a while. So I'm kind of a little bit of an honor right now that he's on tonight because he's like pretty much the hot commodity over at Sportsbox, it seems like. So
my high price free agent signing.
Yeah. But first and foremost, my partner Alex, he's in the middle of something right now. He's gonna come in a little bit. But if you guys check it out, that's Manscaped right there. We are partnered by Manscaped. Look down below. Brian's been through this before. Your balls will thank you if you have Manscaped. Check them out. Try them out. Check out this clip that we have. Yeah. Yes, sir. Manscaped, your balls will thank you. 20% off, free shipping, whenever you guys want it. Have you guys tried out Manscaped yet?
I have not. It's on my list of things to do.
Well, Brian's married, so I mean, there's no use for him to be anywhere down there. Plus, anything he's got, it looks like a baby bird in the nest. So,
oh my god,
I keep it trim and sparkling for the ladies there, Drew. I mean, I'm a gracious lover. I don't want any extra hair or anything away.
Yeah,
I try to be considerate. And hopefully the same for me. I appreciate.
You still can use it for the head. I know you shave.
Yeah, well, that'll be sure.
All right, man. Let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about it. I've been excited about this all week. I gave you guys your own little banner. There it is, right there.
Misspelled my name, but it's actually more.
I don't care.
I've always seen it as a compliment. It's good.
I don't care. All right, let's go through the coaching carousel. Tony, I want to hear your thoughts on Urban Meyer and the rumors that are being presented right now. 12 million off the jump.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard my thoughts before on Urban Meyer, but I despise him as a human being for the most part. He earned the nickname Urban Liar for a reason.
Yeah.
As somebody who coaches kids and really dedicated a lot of his life in coaching youth sports and everything like that, his disingenuousness to the way he handles kids and, if he's going to fake a heart attack and get out of one job so he could get a better job, that doesn't fly with me. And to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, he recruited, some very talented players in both Florida and Ohio State. But if you look at his quarterbacks, especially, haven't really succeeded well in the NFL. I mean, his big quarterback is Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, before he stole some laptops down there. And then what's been getting hit with Justin Fields a little bit is the whole, Ohio State quarterbacks never paying out in the NFL. Now, if you're going to look to Jacksonville, do you really want to bring Urban Meyer in his system when you have a premier quarterback on the horizon and under that scope? So when you're looking at that way, it really doesn't make too much sense. But he's a name, the Florida area. You could see it to try to give that some star power, if that's what they're looking for. But from a football sense, I'm not in love with it,
Okay. Do you believe that in these rumors that there is some interest from his camp or for him personally that wants to be in the NFL?
He's been out for a couple of years now, so I do think that he does have interest in kind of getting back into it. But for me personally, I don't think there's a better job than high-profile college football. I mean, would you trade the NFL job anybody has for Nick Saban's job? Not me. No. Nick Saban runs the world down in Alabama. No. I mean, if you see the stuff that's going on in the NFL, I mean, it could be a very short-lived career. And sometimes your quarterback kind of can make or break you to an extent. So I'd rather be a high-profile college coach, and they make just as much money as some of these NFL guys.
Yes.
When everything's said and done, even behind doors.
They get 50, 20 first rounders every year instead of one.
Yeah, exactly. And you could actually pick and choose your players and recruit them and create the environment you want. NFL, you don't have that stuff. Plus, you're dealing with egos and stuff like that. So Urban Meyer to the NFL, I'd rather take a shot at somebody like John Harbaugh, who's had a success in the NFL already. If you're looking into a name splash, kind of something like that. But is the Jacksonville job a very high profile and attractive job? On the surface, no. But if you look down to it with the draft pick and the draft capital that they have and their cap situation, I mean, it's if they could get a solid GM in there and a solid coach, they could really turn it around for a long haul.
I agree.
Is a quick fix as far as respectability, but when you look at it, I don't know if it's the best long-term situation.
Brian, that leads me to you. There's been talk about the Chargers, and I know you made a shot at me in our group chat about freaking. And I swear to God, I will throw away everything and I will move to Alaska if we get Jason Garrett to the Chargers. But let me tell you something right now, Brian. Let me tell you right now. What do you see the Chargers doing? I want you to speak for me. What do you see the Chargers doing? And does Happy Clappy become a Charger head coach? I swear to God, if you BS me.
Well, first of all, if you're kidding, I'm like, I wouldn't joke around about something like that. I mean, that man ruined 10 years of my football life. Like, I don't use these, like, I wouldn't make that joke, very, very lightly. I don't think that he ends up with the Chargers. I do think I was surprised that Anthony Lynn was let go, not because he necessarily, coached overly well. I don't necessarily think that he did. In fact, you could probably point to instances where he really didn't, because they had a better offense, a pretty good defense, and didn't translate to wins. Usually that's coaching. But I'm a big believer in continuity at the quarterback position. So this is actually a really, really big hire, because you're not going to go through this again with this quarterback. You can do it now because you're only going into year 2. It's very early on. I don't think Jason Garrett personally goes there, but I do think whichever direction they're going to go, it needs to absolutely positively be an offensive-minded head coach to get the most out of this quarterback that they can. You can arguably say, I mean, look, we can only go with what we know right now. He looks way better than Tua to this point, which is great. Yeah. I think Burrow looked fine, but again, small sample, he got hurt. I mean, you got to be over the moon if you're a Charger fan with a guy like Justin Herbert. So for me, I want to surround him with as much talent as possible and as much coaching as possible. I need to hit this out of the park because I don't want to do this again in 3 or 4 years. I want this to be not like I want a Bill Belichick. What I'm saying is I want a guy who can be with Herbert for the next 10 years. That's what I'm looking for in this hire. And it's a lot to do. I don't think that's Jason Garrett at all. I think that you're doing your due diligence. I think he's going to go in there and impress anybody. I don't think he's impressed anybody in a very long time. I don't even know how he got the Giants job. I think it was just like connections there. But it's weird, though, because I don't know for them, Drew, if they should go with an established guy or a coordinator. I mean, like a guy like Bieniemy, that's been the hot name for a while, but I don't know. I mean, you don't have a lot to base his coaching record on. We see a lot of guys who are great coordinators get the head role and are ass. And I think that this spot right now is not a situation where you want to take that risk. So I don't know if they're better off getting a more established guy. I don't really know who that would be, but I would hope it would be somebody with an offensive flavor just because I have this wonderful tool. I want to get the most out of it.
And just real quick, playing devil's advocate with you, who's your top guy for the Chargers?
I mean, from an established, it's hard to say because I don't know who else. Other people may be getting fired. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a guy like a Bieniemy because he's an offensive genius. But my fear there would be, what if he just can't coach? Like, what if he can be a coordinator, a really good one, under a guy like Andy Reid, but when he has the reins, it goes south. Adam Gase is a pretty good offensive guy until he got to the Jets and he was terrible. Like, there's guys who've been very good in their roles, and then they get that head job and they're awful. So. That's my fear for me is you make the wrong hire. They need to take their time. I wouldn't rush it.
Bieniemy's a hot name, and he has ties to the Charger organization already. But you just called him an offensive genius, which, I mean, can we really give him that label when you have a quarterback like Pat Mahomes and you have an offensive mind?
But that's how he's being labeled right now. Like, he's being labeled as like an offensive guy who can really get things going.
The Houston Texans, with their vacancy, they actually passed on even interviewing them. Which I thought that was interesting. So,
very interesting.
Listen, sleeping with the enemy. Shout out to Chris Berman back in the day. Is a talented name, and he's in every circle, and it's kind of like he's the next one up to get a shot. But I don't know if we could overvalue him because how much work does he actually do with quarterbacks and young quarterback and Jason Garrett? I think it might be a good fit, and I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised they go that direction, but. I'd temper expectations, because you're right, Brian. And, I hate saying that, but, some guys are great offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, but they're not built for a head coach.
Look at Wade Phillips.
Phillips, for example.
Which brings me, that's a good example, which brings me to Alex. Alex, I know there's a lot of talk going on with coaches, and then Tony just hit my next question. How shocked were you that Bieniemy wasn't even on the list for the Houston Texans? Deshaun Watson already looks pissed off because from his cryptic text, here we go again, or some things don't change. How do you feel what the Houston Texans are doing?
Listen, there's some history there with Bieniemy that a lot of people don't know with Houston, and he wasn't going to take the job, so why waste the interview, right? Pretty much from everything, if you look at everything that's being said, it's Chargers or nobody from what I'm hearing, right? So I think that's your next coach, to be honest with you, in LA. Now, Houston is a whole nother can of worms, right? I don't know what they're going to do there. You're not keeping Romeo Crennel, right? He doesn't get a retread. I don't think he gets another chance, right? So it's going to be a coordinator. I personally would like to see Josh McDaniels leave New England because I think he's ready for a head coaching job. And I don't think Belichick's going anywhere for a while. I still think we got 4 to 5 years at least of Belichick, right? So is Josh McDaniels going to be Belichick's puppet for another 5 years? I don't know. But I think Josh McDaniels is probably one of the best head coaching prospects there are right now. but I don't think he leaves. I think he's comfortable. He knows he's safe in New England, right? He already had the chance in Denver, and you saw how that worked out for him. It didn't work out well. But I think he learned from all that, and he would be a great fit in Houston because he's an offensive genius. That's truth, right?
Well,
Really-
Houston hired Casario today, who's from the Patriots.
Right.
So I mean, if he
That's
is
true.
going to make the move down there, then
That's an easy transition. Yeah.
the
Doug Peterson is no, he ain't.
He should be.
Let's not even get into that. I agree.
I don't want to. We can talk about that for hours. Okay, Tony, let me get back at you, Tony. I love your insight into this. Which organization franchise is the one that you want the most?
as far as if I was a coach,
As far as you're looking for a head coach.
I would probably lean to Jacksonville, as I stated earlier. One, I think there's less expectations. You're going to get a top quarterback to go with a team that's shown some life already. Plenty of salary cap, plenty of draft capital. If you look at the division that they play in, I don't think there's anybody there that's insurmountable. I mean, the Colts, great defensive line, great offensive line. Not sure what's going to happen with Phillip Rivers, and that and everything like that. So I'm not going to be too afraid of that. Houston, they have a ton of problems, and then we have Tennessee, who is a Derrick Henry injury away from being an average football team.
Yep.
And that's just how it is. And I don't think they're insurmountable if you hit on the quarterback. So I would go with Jacksonville. I mean, New York Jets has a bigger splash to it, but you're also dealing with the expectations and the Sam Darnold situation and what you want to do with that. But I would really like the Jacksonville spot because I think that they have a lot of ability to get good quick.
Yeah. And you have two good wide receivers there. Their offensive line is not terrible. There's a lot of positives. The defense is up and coming. There's a lot of positives to Jacksonville. I never thought I'd say that, right?
Yeah, when you got to listen, James Robinson, rookie running back steal, so you're not investing a lot of money in the running back position. DJ Chark, Lavera Chanel, who's the other kid? Cole. I mean, they do have some weapons on offense that you could deal with. I mean, you have a fun quarterback in the backup position is Minshew mania, and you get rid of Mike Glennon kind of debacle down there too. So I mean, there's some pieces, and plus on the defensive end too. I mean, they do a little bit of everything on defense, and you could immediately improve offensively and defensively through the draft. And I think that their cap space is just phenomenal. So that would be who I would try to get back. Into.
Are we all in agreement that Jacksonville is the best job?
No.
All right, Brian, go ahead. I want to hear your.
I think with the right coach, the Chargers are a playoff team next year.
Okay.
That's the roster that's the closest to me to contending. And I think if I'm good, the thing about I'm a big believer, right? And when coaches go to new places, they want to bring in their regime, they want to start changing things. But this is you don't really see situations in the NFL open up where there's a head coach opening with an established second-year stud quarterback. Like usually that's a recipe where the guy's going to keep his job, right? Like to me, when I look at some of these places where head coaches want to go and they want to make a change of quarterback because they're going to be judged by that guy, when you're taking the job with LA, you're starting off with Justin Herbert, an above-average defense and offensive weapons. The downside to it is, yes, you are in the division with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is a major problem. But now there's 3 wild cards. Like I see no reason why, with the right head coach, fixing the little things that they do wrong, because they lose one possession games like it's their job. And if they just win a couple of those games, that's a 10-win team, that's a playoff team, and the road is easier to me. The thing about Jacksonville is nobody cares. People just leave. Like they want to go somewhere or demand trades. That's an organizational problem. I don't necessarily know that a new coach fixes that. The Chargers don't really have much of that issue. I would be to me, if the Charger job was given to me and I had that quarterback to start with, I'm in.
Plus, you have Derwin James coming back.
But you have the stigma of the injuries, right? There's always that major injury in LA. It seems every year one of their studs goes down every year, right? So that would be my only concern taking the job.
I listen. That's why I've been on the fence of retaining Anthony Lynn for one more year, because if you look back at his record, it's 32-30. 2 of those years, he didn't have all of his players. I mean, Derwin James, Tranquil. I mean, the list goes on. Last year, Phillip Rivers played with absolutely no returning offensive linemen from their playoff season in 2018. You know, there's so many things that you can go that can hurt a coach. But then we looked at this year, and I looked at time management. I looked at miscues of what he was doing during the game, and then his post-game media conferences where there were sources saying that Justin Herbert was losing some faith in him because of how Anthony Lynn was approaching the media, because he's so hard and gun-ho on Tyrod Taylor that Phillip Rivers was supposed to come back, but it was Anthony Lynn that was pushing him away. So there was a lot of issues there inside the Chargers, franchise. That's why Rivers was going off. If you guys remember last year, Rivers was talking about San Diego and this and that and how he misses it, and that would cause him, that pretty much sealed his fate to leave and go to Indy. So it's so hard. But like Tony said earlier, I like to see the same system and see Herbert do what he could do for a whole 17 games next year and see what this defense could do healthy. But, we'll see what happens. We got to move on. We could talk all day about coaches. There's so many openings. But we're gonna reveal our predictions on our NFL awards. We're gonna start with Alex. Alex, who's your executive of the year?
That's tough, man. I want to say the Brown, right? The GM of the Browns. Honestly, just because without him, right, I don't think we turn it around. Like Stefanski has a lot to do with it, right? But his first year in, we look like a different team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that sounds like a hometown pick, a Gomer pick, but I mean I'm going to go with Andrew Berry for sure.
You know what, man? I like it, but I still think that Dorsey gets a lot of credit he's not getting for the moves that he made.
Players there, I agree with you.
I think Brian and Tony and you're like my pick. I got to go with Tampa Bay. Jason Lee. I mean, I got to go with them. You got the GOAT, and you saw what happened with Tampa Bay this year. A lot of really, I mean, anybody could be almost an improvement to Jameis Winston in my eyes. Jameis Winston has the tools and mechanics, but I just don't think he has the mental fortitude to be able to be a starting quarterback doing the reading and defense and this and that. We'll see what happens, Brian and Alex and Tony, what Jameis Winston will do this offseason if Drew Brees does retire. So that's a story within itself. But for Tampa Bay to be able to sign Tom Brady and pair him with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, to trade for Gronk for peanuts, and then to sign Antonio Brown for freaking a slice of pizza, pretty much, and to have this offense that is a juggernaut offense and a 43-year-old that is able to withstand in the pocket because their offensive line has been okay. It's been all right. It hasn't been bad. It hasn't been excellent. But with all that being said, they are a fifth seed. They are in prime position to win this game on Saturday night against one of the worst teams, arguably, to get into the postseason, which is the Washington football team that has no name. And that's got to be great news for the GM for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tony?
Well, yeah, you stole my thunder a little bit. That's what I was good. I mean, how can you not listen? It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They haven't been in the playoffs. I think Brian, on our show,
2007.
Yeah, I mean, because we, one of our co-hosts, Galetta, was bashing. I forget what team he was bashing. Maybe Atlanta, was it, Brian?
A team that doesn't make the playoffs ever, but they made it. I think it might have been the Browns, but the Browns made it more recently than the Bucs did.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but yeah,
it was some of these teams that they made it for the first time in forever.
You made Tampa Bay relevant by signing. Somehow you got Tom Brady to get there. Okay. Then you dealt with Gronk, then you dealt with Antonio Brown, then you dealt with all kinds of other stuff. So when you're looking at it like that, yeah, I think you have to give him a lot of credit. That would be my pick. Another guy who deserves a ton of credit is Brandon Beane from Buffalo Bills.
Oh, yeah, huge.
He stole my answer. God damn it. Yeah, exactly, Austin. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. It was a very underrated signing, and there was a lot of question marks with Stephon Diggs going there. Can he be a true number one? Because Adam Thielen, was kind of considered the number one, and Diggs was like a 1A. And we've seen time and time again, Juju Smith-Schuster has struggled being the number one way back in the day. Alvin Harper struggled being a number one. You see these number two receivers go get that number one money, and now all of a sudden they're still number two receivers. So Stephon Diggs had proved that he is a number one receiver. The development of Josh Allen. So the support system that he put around Josh Allen to perform, and everything like that. I think Brandon Beane really deserves a lot of credit for what he did in Buffalo.
I agree, Tony. Brian, close it out.
I agree. Beane's got to get some love here. And this might be a multi-year award for me, but I absolutely love 95% of things that Chris Ballard does in Indianapolis. And I think that the trade to bring in DeForest Buckner wasn't really it didn't feel like a big move at the time, but the kind of balls it takes to go make that trade, to go use the number one, to go get that guy, give him a big contract. And let's not forget, they walk into next season with the third most cap space in the league. The only two teams with more cap space are the Jags and the Jets. Like, they are set up so well moving forward. If they can just get a long-term quarterback. You want to talk about keeping old guys upright. I mean, Phillip Rivers has barely been touched this year. And that speaks to just how good that offensive line has been, which they've been building over time.
I agree.
There's very little to dislike about where the Colts are headed, and they're still a very young team. There's a lot of runway with this group once they get that quarterback taken care of.
The quarterback is taken care of. I already told you what's going to happen.
He's going to have
Dak Prescott's going to Indy.
Oh, jeez. They're not going to make a mistake with that albatross contract.
Oh, jeez.
They're not paying him that kind of money.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Indianapolis Colts and what they're paying, they're paying their quarterbacks more than any team in NFL right now. I mean, our boy Phillip Rivers is making a killing there, and as well as his backup quarterback. $25
million.
Yeah. So I mean, you're looking at the highest backup paid quarterback, and then you're looking at Phillip Rivers' contract. So they're going to have, and both of those come off the books next year. So they're going to have a ton of money. And if they don't throw it at a quarterback, they're going to be,
I mean, they'll throw it, but I just don't think they give $40 million to Dak. Doesn't make sense.
Nobody should.
Shut your mouth.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Tony, Brian, and Alex, let's just address this right now. Let's get it over with. I want to hear it. Wentz to the Colts. Is it happening? Yes or no?
I think there's a strong possibility. I really do. I think it makes a lot of sense as long as you restructure that contract before he comes, because Philly's not going to take a huge hit like that to get rid of him. So if he won't agree to restructure, I think he's in Philly next year. Now, if he agrees to restructure, if he's serious about wanting out as bad as he says he wants out, then he will restructure because he knows Philly will let him go. But if not, he's sitting on the bench next year, or maybe Hurts isn't the long-term solution and he gets another shot. But there's no confidence in that locker room for him. I think you can tell right off the bat they're tired of the Wentz circus and Peterson circus between the two of them. Like Tony was talking about, they don't like each other, I think. And I think that's the biggest issue in Philly.
Brian?
To Craig's comments, it actually was the Lions he was talking about. It actually hit me once. The Lions have made the playoffs actually more recently than the Bucs did. It was actually the Lions.
Is this your buddy?
We're talking about the Lions.
We know who Craig is. Craig's a big Steeler guy. We know who Craig is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's why the Browns comment. I got it.
So
motherfucker's on fire right now commenting.
So it's the thing with Wentz and Indy, I mean, the fit is because the assumption is that the fit was with Frank Reich, and Frank Reich the Frank Reich year was when Wentz had his best year in Philadelphia. Like I understand that. We have no idea if the Colts even want Carson Wentz. If the Colts can go get Carson Wentz on the cheap, I think they're stupid not to. And I think if you drop Carson Wentz into a roster as talented as the Colts are, that's a 12-win team. And I've said that before a million times. Carson Wentz is all talent in the world. He's in an impossible situation with a bad roster in Philadelphia, with a statue of the guy who took the job from because he got hurt outside the stadium. Like it's impossible. And that roster stinks. And I'm not really convinced the Eagles don't go draft another quarterback, because I don't think Jalen Hurts looks very good. Neither here nor there. Would he be a good fit in Indianapolis? It all depends on cost. I mean, if the Eagles are just trying to get him out and they won't take that much to get him out, I don't see why it's a low risk move to me, depending on how the contract is structured. And he seems to be willing to renegotiate it to get the hell out of there. I don't think there's a better fit for him than the Colts when you match up his history with Reich, the situation, and their need for a quarterback. They don't really have one at all.
Makes sense. Tony?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's almost like too easy. I mean, a ton of cap space next year in Indianapolis, history with the quarterback, blah, blah, blah. I think that it's going to come down to what are they going to give up? What are the Eagles' asking price? Because I think it's all over the board. I mean, do you pay him for Carson Wentz and his potential, or do you pay him for what he's been last year and half of the year before? And that's a bottom 5 quarterback. When you look at it, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but let me pull it up real quick because I know I have it here somewhere. He almost finished dead last in passer rating and completion percentage, and that's something that really shouldn't happen. So Carson Wentz narrowly escaped ranking last in completion percentage and passing rating. Instead, Drew Lock had the worst completion percentage in the NFL at 57.3. Wentz was 57.4. So second to last there. Sam Darnold, worst passer rating, 72.7. Wentz, 72.8. So any way you look at it, he's been awful. Whoever's fault it is. So what is the trade value for a quarterback who's played awful? And unless you're looking at value in potential and think that Frank Reich has the magic key. Change of scenery for Carson Wentz is the best thing that can happen. When you're a believer in him, I think you need to take a shot at it. Colts have shown that they've already been willing to invest a high price quarterback and take a shot. And with that roster, I think that's something they do. 3rd round pick, does that get it done for Wentz? But here's the thing: Jalen Hurts hasn't looked great. I mean, the team has played better for him. All around, and he's out there playing loose, but he hasn't looked phenomenal. He doesn't look great. It's not like you're looking at him, So I think the Eagles have to figure out whether they want to actually move on from him first, and then if they do, what are they going to get for him?
Total dumpster fire.
All right, guys, that brings us to the coach of the year. I'm going to start it off. I honestly was between 2 guys. One of the guys that made the playoffs, so I'm going to go with Ron Rivera. Just with everything he's done through the first year as a head coach for Washington football team, made the defense even more stronger than what they were last year. Dealing with the quarterback carousel between Dwayne Haskins, losing Kyle Allen beginning of the year, and then having the balls where me and Alex, we argued a couple weeks ago, having Alex Smith in there. And I told him Alex Smith gives him the better chance to win the games. And so far, it feels like I feel like I've been right. I know Alex is not going to say anything, so he can stay quiet. So with that being said, I got Ron Rivera, man. I just got to give it to him, man. He's a leader of men. Getting IVs at halftime and being able to come back out and coach. I'm just a huge fan of him, and I think that he really did a good job with his team this year. I'm really interested to see what he could do the next 2 to 5 years, to see how this franchise can turn around. Maybe they can carry this momentum to next year. But the biggest thing I think all 4 of us can agree is, what's the future going to be for this team at quarterback? Haskins is gone. Kyle Allen is not the answer. I'm pretty sure he'll be back next year. Alex Smith, we don't know if this is going to be a one-time thing, and he might just call it because some people are saying that this might be it. He just wanted to prove it to himself that he could play and be done. So with that being said, I got Ron Rivera. Alex? You're on mute. Mute.
Another hometown guy, Kevin Stefanski, man. From what he did to get the monkey off the back in Cleveland, no other coach makes sense. I understand that it's a feel-good story with Ron Rivera and the cancer and everything like that, and I get that. But we're talking about coaching on the field. We're talking about a 7-9 team that squeaked into the playoffs because they were in the worst division in football, maybe in the history of football. Yes, I like Ron Rivera. He's a good coach. I think he will turn it around. But I don't think he did the best job this year coaching. I think it was Kevin Stefanski, and it's not even close.
Brian?
I was hoping, Drew, you'd pick me before the guy in the Cleveland shirt, because I think he's absolutely right. Is Kevin Stefanski.
Okay.
Listen, Ron Rivera is a feel-good story, and I'll give him a lot of credit for making a tough decision to, benching Dwayne Haskins isn't touch the but actually cutting him and getting rid of him, that's a tough decision, but it shows that he's willing to make that as a coach. So Ron Rivera deserves a ton of credit. Looking everything football related, the way that Kevin Stefanski was able to get Baker Mayfield to commit to that offense, limit him, not make mistakes, reel him in. They've stuck to their game plan the entire season, and that you deserve a lot of credit. I mean, they lost Nick Chubb for a good chunk of it. You lost Odell Beckham for a good chunk of it. Well, for the mostly season ending, and they're still in an opportunity to upset a Pittsburgh Steelers team that's kind of looked beatable lately. So I think Kevin Stefanski and how he handled Cleveland, I think he deserves it. With Brian Flores needs a little bit of a mention as well for what he did in Miami. So
I agree.
I think I would have Stefanski 1, Rivera 2, Flores 3.
Brian?
All great names. Real quick, you want a Washington quarterback 1-year deal? Cam Newton reunited with Rivera.
God, no.
I have no better option right now.
They have $40 million in cap space. There's no way.
There's really a lot of names here that had really good coaching years. A lot of the guys have been mentioned. I think it's very easy to say Sean McDermott because I don't think anybody thought the Bills would be this good. So I think that's.
I did.
Well, not this good, but not this good.
Yeah,
I called it.
If you look,
they're my 2 seed.
But here's what I will say. To me, in a weird way, right? This might be Sean Payton's hardest year. For him to have ended up winning the division for the second year in a row with a backup quarterback, and it's not even a quarterback, because Taysom Hill is not a quarterback. Okay, so for them to have staved off Tom Brady and the offense in Tampa Bay to still maintain the division, I think says a lot about Sean Payton being able to make this offense work without a quarterback who can actually throw a forward pass. I think is impressive. So I think he definitely needs to get some consideration. He probably won't win it. I think McDermott does, but I've seen LaFleur is definitely fair as well. I mean, look what Green Bay has done. I mean, it's really, Aaron Rodgers and friends. I mean, that's what that team really is, right?
Davante Adams.
He
made a heck of an argument. He's the best wide receiver in the NFL this year.
I don't disagree with. There's not that much.
Alexander. I mean, listen, there's talent, but you take Aaron Rodgers and you put him on any team. I mean, I'm not going to.
Exactly.
I don't give the coach credit if you got Aaron
Exactly.
Rodgers.
I agree, Tony and Alex. One guy doesn't agree that Davante Adams. He thinks he sucks, but we won't talk about him. Comeback player, Nick. Comeback player of the year. Brian, let's start with you on this one. Who should come back?
Isn't even
a question.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement?
Yeah. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's mad as shit because Alex Smith came back. Ben Roethlisberger had it locked up at the beginning of the year. Nobody thought Alex Smith was going to play, and then he came and he played, and he went 5-1 in the games he played in. Alex Smith is the comeback player of the year.
Hold on. Tony's got something in his head. I can see it in his eyes. What you got, Tony?
So we're all in agreement. It's Gronkowski, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all Alex Smith. We all agree, Alex Smith.
Absolutely. What he's done. I mean, even when you've seen him walk into his preseason game, his leg didn't look like a leg. It looked like it was a prosthesis or something like that. And just the fact that he's out there playing, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to play this week. He's doubtful. So I mean, hopefully he does get out there. Because I don't want to see Taylor Hanke go against that. So
I like Blake's thinking here.
I know, right?
Hey, matter of fact, he should get GM of the year as well.
I know, dude. He should. He gets a freaking top 3 pick.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. The old Billy King philosophy. He just builds other teams with horrible draft picks.
Yeah, that's true. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Tony, start us off. Who's getting it?
I mean, it has to be Chase Young. I mean, what the impact that he's brought to that team. I mean, he had a phenomenal year until he called out Tom Brady this weekend, and unfortunately he's going to get embarrassed probably. But Chase Young, Antoine Winfield's been spectacular as well, and Jeremy Chin too. I mean, those 3 have been all standouts, but I think this is Chase Young's award hands down.
Brian?
No question about it. I mean, listen,
Okay.
that team, no matter how they figured it out, they got away to the playoffs. Okay. That team stinks. Offensively, they're not very good. Defensively, yes, and he's made a big addition. And again, I was critical of the draft pick because I just thought this team continues to draft their defensive line. Like at some point, you have to address the rest of your team. So I mean, I know why they took him. I mean, I would have tried to do something different, but kid's a great talent, no question about it. He made a very good defensive line, really, really good, and they're a tough out in the playoffs because of that.
I mean, real quick on the Chase Young comment you made about as far as like the very good defensive line. I mean, there's a big argument to be said that they shouldn't have took Chase Young if they knew that Haskins was, because they are. I mean, Deron Payne and John Allen and these guys. That's a stud defensive line with or without him. So I mean, and it's a dumpster fire quarterback with Haskins there. I mean, Alex Smith being able to play just save that whole season, but. I mean, when you're looking at it, though, I mean, maybe they should have went quarterback over Young. I mean, Justin Herbert right now.
No, I don't. But this pick was made last year,
right?
No, when they took Haskins, there was no quarterback this year. If they do anything different last year in the 19 draft, this is absolutely a quarterback. But that was like just a continuation bet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's Chase Young, and it's not even. I mean, with the addition of him, he makes that front seven one of the top 3 front sevens in the NFL. Now, the back end of that defense is a little scary at times, but that front seven, I challenge you to find a more complete front seven in all of football. It makes those linebackers that much better, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's no question him.
So real quick, to comment on everything that's being said in this segment, yes, Chase Young is my defensive rookie of the year, 7.5 sacks, 40-something tackles, a lot of quarterback pressures, a lot of quarterback hits, a couple of I don't know how many forced fumbles. He got a lot. But with that being said, man, I'm with Brian here. I'm sorry, I'm with Tony here. I said it last year. It's a Chase Young. I mean, look, it's there. It's like Adam and Eve. You want to go and get the easiest thing you can get to get this knowledge, but instead of going outside the box, instead of listening to critics, we knew what Dwayne Haskins was.
Thanks for the name drop.
What's that?
Think outside the box. I like the name.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you like that? And so I'm with Tony, man. If Ron Rivera comes in and he doesn't like what he sees, I mean, automatically his first thing he did was trade for Kyle Allen. So I mean, he knew writing was on the wall. You could have done something better to improve that secondary, to improve that linebacking core. I can't go back to the whole draft class to see who could be a top pick, but Herbert could have made a world of difference in a Washington uniform.
Oh my God, they would have been guaranteed number 1 seed in the least for sure.
But who knows? Let's get into it real quick. Brian, offensive rookie of the year.
I mean, I don't want to stoke your ego too much.
You're stoking it. Go ahead. You already got the lotion on.
It's obvious. Okay. Now listen. Now, if Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt, this might be different. But listen, you can't take it away from Justin Herbert this year. I mean, look, that team won 4 in a row to end the year. He's looked phenomenal with crap coaching. I mean, look, Justin Jefferson had a great year. Taylor had a great year.
Because it's disgusting. It's going to go to Herbert, but Jefferson deserves it.
My God.
Of Randy Moss's record does Jefferson have to break? Does he have to have 2,000 yards receiving? Does he have to have 23 touchdowns like Jerry Wright? Like what he did is not been done by other rookie wide receivers. What Justin Herbert did has been done by other rookie quarterbacks.
Not like he broke them. He broke all the records.
I don't even think it's close.
He broke all the records.
Oh, he didn't break all the records.
Besides passing yards.
Larger bias and understand the truth. He didn't break all the records.
You just picked Kevin Stefanski and you tell me I'm biased. Go ahead, Tony.
Everybody else agreed with me, though.
Go ahead. No, we didn't.
I'm enjoying listening to you guys go back and forth about this. Offensive rookie of the year. You guys mentioned Justin Jefferson. You guys mentioned Justin Herbert. Both phenomenal, but James Robinson needs a little bit of dark horse consideration here. He's not going to win it. It'll be Herbert who wins it. But what James Robinson did in Jacksonville as an undrafted free agent, 1,000 yards. I think he was 5th in the NFL rushing, if I'm not concerned. I mean, if you told me that James Robinson in August was going to be 5th in the NFL rushing, Justin Jefferson, if you look at what he's done, he was up and down, had some huge games, had some games where he disappeared. I think that's and playing opposite of Adam Thielen, we already seen how productive that can be when you factor in Stephon Diggs, in a bad team. But with Justin Herbert, I mean, Justin Herbert hasn't, what was Justin Herbert, 6th in NFL passing yards and top 10 in rating and all that kind of stuff. Yep. I think, though, it was Joe Burrow's award to lose before he got hurt. I think Burrow looked fantastic. Justin Herbert, who I was a fan of in Oregon, but I didn't think he would be this good, this well, because he had a little bit of issues as far as leadership and communication and stuff like that. Going into the draft, and how he really adjusted to the NFL lifestyle and the NFL game is just phenomenal. And I'd give the edge to him.
Yeah. So I got Justin Herbert. It's easy for me. It broke all rookie records. He can in passing, missed passing yards by 30-something yards, I think. Touchdowns, the first time he's seen over 30 touchdowns. 5 rushing touchdowns. He has more rushing touchdowns than Rivers had in his whole career as a Charger. Just want to throw that out there. And I like him a lot, man. I remember Brian telling me back at the beginning of the season when we had the Sportsbox had me on, and we would talk about what should the Chargers do with Herbert. And my hesitation was I wanted him to sit back a year to learn the game, but I'll be the first to admit it. I was wrong. I mean, he's NFL. It looks like he's NFL ready. I know I'm a little hesitant in saying that, guys, because of what Baker Mayfield did his second year. Guys who have that historic sophomore slump because the game catches up, and you gotta evolutionize your game as a quarterback. So I'm still excited for the pick. I'm excited for the future, but for what he's done this year, I got to give it to the kid, man. Yeah, this was Joe Burrow's to have, but unfortunately, the injuries suck, and I hope that he comes back stronger than ever. But for now, Justin Herbert is my rookie of the year. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, listen, if you remember what I told you, that he most likely is going to be the best quarterback out of this draft. I really felt he was NFL ready, but I knew he would win you games that you didn't necessarily want to win because you need a couple more pieces, right? So, yep. And you saw that's exactly what happened, right? They won 4 in a row. If they'd have lost those 4, you're a top 5 pick, right? And you're adding another huge piece of that offensive line to just make yourself better, right? I mean, that's the truth about this, right? He's going to win it. But like I told you, to me, it's more impressive what Jefferson did because wide receivers, I feel like that's a tougher transition in the NFL for me personally as a rookie, right? We've seen quarterbacks come in, light the world on fire their rookie year. Their second year, they've been found out and they don't do as well, right?
There's also been a lot that busted, though, their first year as well.
Oh, I agree, but it's less and less likely now to have a high quarterback draft pick bust. Let's be honest. That is not like it used to be. We're not getting any more Ryan Leaves. We're not getting any more
I can give you 2 I can give you 4 in the last 4 years.
Okay, give me the 4.
Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins, James Winston, Marcus Mariota.
Dwayne Haskins was a reach. We knew he wasn't going to be good.
He's still a first-round pick.
Mariota was trash, and you knew he was trash coming out. He was a one-trick.
Still a first-round pick.
Overall.
But
first overall, yes. Thank you.
I'm talking about quarterbacks that weren't reaches. Mariota was a reach.
No, he wasn't.
Haskins, for sure, he was a reach.
But quarterbacks always score early in drafts, though.
How was Mariota not a reach? You saw him get exposed in the national championship game against Ohio State, which was the only real defense he played his entire time in college, and he got beat the F up. You knew he was going to be a bust. How was it not? I mean, you could go back in my Facebook feed and see every quarterback you could tell. I called him a bust. Most experts call him a bust.
That's great if you said he was a bust and you didn't like him as a quarterback. But at the time, there wasn't too many people in the NFL draft circles that considered him to be not a first-round pick. He was in the hard consideration with Jameis Winston as a number 1 pick. So obviously, those 2 quarterbacks haven't worked out. But to say he was a reach at 2, whether you think he was good or not, then but he wasn't a reach because he was drafted where you expected. A reach is somebody who was overdrafted. So when you took somebody like Blake Bortles, or when you take, at high,
Mitch Trubisky,
that's a reach. Mitch Trubisky, that's a reach. Those are reaches. Daniel Jones at 6 when he could have had him at 17 or 19 or whatever. That's a reach. Mariota's draft spot and his projection was in that one. It was either 1 or 2. So I don't think it was a reach. But whether you projected him to be a good NFL quarterback, that's another story.
Yeah, to me, I feel like it was a reach, right? So these are reaches that I would say they were reaches, right?
So if you look at this, if you look at the quarterback class this year, right? So you have Justin Fields, you have Trevor Lawrence, you have Zach Wilson, you have you have a number of quarterbacks, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, these guys who are all projected to go top first round. So if Justin Fields goes 3 and you don't like him, I mean, is that considered a reach or?
No, listen, I agree. I understand what you're saying. I get where you're coming from. By draft experts, Mariota was projected to be a top 3 pick, right? I'm not going to argue that.
And if you listen to John Gruden, he still thinks he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, that and Nathan Peterman.
But if he's the best quarterback in the NFL, how come he's not starting for him? I mean, he's got him on his roster. So that's a lot of lip service. He doesn't believe that comment.
He was saying it before. He was saying it when Mariota was coming out of the draft. He was practically blowing him.
Right.
I mean, he had duck sauce all over his lip.
Right, but now he's got him. And what is he doing?
Duck sauce? He couldn't
beat out Derek Carr, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Gruden's going to give his best chance to win, and it wasn't Mariota.
Bro, I just want to imagine what duck sauce looks like right now.
It's yellow. I mean,
duck, so I thought it was appropriate.
All right, guys. Defensive player of the year, real quick. We did. Defensive player of the year, real quick. Alex, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's Darnold again. He's still, even though for him it was not a banner year, he demands too much attention, right? He's still, even in a down year, is a career year for a lot of defensive tackles, right? I just think, Donald is the best we've seen defensive player in a long, long time, and I don't even think it's close. But, I mean, you can give it to T.J. Watt, but I think it's down.
That's exactly where I was going to go. Led the league in sacks.
Right.
So, I mean, that's big. And listen, I still have a little PTSD with this guy. He should be a Dallas Cowboy, but he's not. So that there's many guys who that causes me with. But sure. I mean, listen, they were very good defense this year. The offense really fell flat towards the end of the year. I mean, they still won their division. And very, very difficult division, by the way, to win. Kid's great. I think he at some point might win the championship. His brother never could. But kid's got just a ton of talent. I love him. I think he wins this award. And it really, I never thought they should rename this the Aaron Donald Award. That's how usually fervent I am with that, but he's just had such a great year.
Tony?
I mean, this Aaron Donald is such a boring pick. I mean, it's probably the right pick, but I'm going to go with the man who led the league in interceptions and the best defense in the league in Xavier Howard. I mean, pass deflections, 10 picks. I mean, he blanketed every receiver he faced. Week in, week out, he was a stud. So I'll go with Xavier Howard. Leading that Miami Dolphins defense. I think he's, somebody that deserves it. Aaron Donald will probably win it. TJ Watt will probably come in second. But and for a while there, Myles Garrett had a good run at the award. He tailed off in the second half of the season. So
Howard for me. Sorry, Tony. Howard for me as well. Howard for me as well. The most interceptions. And I don't remember the last time, maybe you guys can do it top of your head. When's the last time a corner's won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year?
Who knows?
I don't remember that. It's got to be a minute. But Howard for me, man, that defense is surging. Miami's defense is going to be scary for years to come. Brian Flores, like we said earlier in this podcast, he deserves a lot of credit for what he has done and that nature he's turned around. I mean, just last year we had guys – Mika Fitzpatrick and Jarvis Landry that wanted to get out, and now Miami is a force to be reckoned with. We still know what's going on with Tua. I know we could talk a lot about Tua just to see what the problem is and what's going on with him, and I'm pretty sure we'll dive into that in the offseason. seeing what Miami needs to do next year in the draft. But I got to go with Howard, man. I'm with Tony. Howard had a great year this year, and also J.C. Jackson. He was tied with Howard heading into last week for interceptions, and then Howard got that pick. But yeah, man, it's gonna be real interesting what Miami's gonna do next year.
20 pass deflections too, which is insane. Like Howard probably deserves it, but I just don't know if he can climb the mountain that Donald is.
Last time defensive backs won back-to-back year, it's Troy Polamalu in 2010 and Charles Woodson in 2009.
Oh, there you go.
So,
all right, guys, we're going to do it right here. Last award. Top 5 MVP candidates for the season. I'm going to start with Brian. Brian, who's your top 5? Go from 5 down, because I want to hear, obviously, who your winner is going to be at 1.
From 5 down? It's kind of I guess counterintuitive. I mean, listen, I think that when you look at a team like Tennessee, right, you could go one of two ways with this. I personally think Derrick Henry, and again, I'm not a running back guy, but he's so important what it is to what they do. You know, people are going to say Ryan Tannehill, and I get that, but I don't necessarily think you need to be very, very good at quarterback when you're running your team like this. I think the receivers are also very good. It's a very good situation with a good. To me, Derrick Henry needs to get a little bit of play there. It's kind of hard to go in reverse here, but
that's fine. Just give us 5.
I'm gonna So for me, obviously, Mahomes is always in the discussion because I really think he's obviously the reason that they are who they are. I mean, you can talk about the offensive skill positions all you want to, and they're not bad players. Please don't get me wrong, but he gets the best out of them. Tyreek Hill is not Tyreek Hill without Pat Mahomes. The same for Travis Kelce. So you have to account for that. He really does elevate them. Josh Allen has to get an absolute ton of credit this year because he's taken a quantum leap forward this year. And that's why the Bills are as good as they are, because their defense has really tailed off from a year ago. So for me, I think Josh Allen needs to get some consideration there. I think Aaron Rodgers wins it because I don't think there's anybody else on that. I mean, the Adams might get some play, but it's a quarterback award, right? So, I think it's Rodgers' award to lose, and to piggy off of Blake, I think that it's a clear top 4, and then you're kind of like, trying to find a guy to fit, in my opinion. So, I mean, if you want to give me 5, maybe Nick Chubb. I mean, that team's been hugely riding him all year.
Alex?
So I'm going to go with Tampa Tom as my 5, Henry at 4, Allen at 3, who I really think should probably win it every year. He's going to be in the NFL. Is Patrick Mahomes at 2 and Aaron Rodgers at 1. A lot of people counted Aaron Rodgers out. They thought he was going to be pissed off, but they didn't expect him to 48 touchdowns, right? They didn't expect that out of him this year, right? And he really has made – I mean, I think Devontae Adams is – top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, but he makes him maybe the best wide receiver in the NFL because of the way he plays the quarterback position, right? So, yeah, I think it's Aaron Rodgers for sure that wins it. But who's more important? I think it's a toss-up between Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. If those quarterbacks are not on their teams, they're nowhere near as good as they are, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, for me, man, it's at 5 for me is Tom Brady. I got Tom Brady at 5. I think he's going to get some votes. 43 years old, over 42 total touchdowns. 43. Higher than 65% completion percentage, and threw over 4,000 yards. You got to give respect where respect is given, and the man played great this year. I know his team was stacked, but he still showed up and played ball when everybody counted him out, saying he couldn't throw a deep ball. When that stat came out, he was like 1 for 19 or 0 for 19 in deep balls. And then all of a sudden, this guy just throwing laser beams out deep to Gronk and all these cats. So Tom is 5. 4 for me is Josh Allen. I love Josh. I think he had a great year this year. I love to come out of Wyoming. I remember when Brian came on a couple years ago in our old program, in our old company, and we talked about Josh Allen in depth. And I was huge on him, and I thought Buffalo was a perfect spot for him. Great year, great dual threat quarterback. He's going to be special for years to come. And like Tony said earlier, Stephon Diggs even elevated his play, I believe, even more. So great move by Bean. 3 for me is Derrick Henry. To run for over 2,000 yards is just, it's an anomaly now in the passing era. So I got them at 3. And then 2 for me is Patrick Mahomes. He had it for me until these last couple of weeks till Rodgers started just going bananas. This is going to be Rodgers' reward. I think we are 3 for 3 on that. And, 50, I believe it was 52 total touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers this year. So, I mean, how can you deny someone almost throwing for 50 passing touchdowns and not give him the award? So I got to give it to him. This will be his 3rd one. And that's just another notch for his legacy.
Wow. I guess, I have, I don't know, 6, 7 guys I want to mention, but at 5, I'm going to go with our man who's been the constant on that New Orleans Saints team, and that's Alvin Kamara. I think that he's pretty much overlooked. He carried the offense with Breeze there. They changed it up a little bit when Taysom Hill was there, but Alvin Kamara needs to be in the conversation for MVP, give him a vote. Another guy who deserves a vote, and he was the MVP in the first 6, 7 games of the season, and that's Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was absolutely phenomenal carrying that team, scoring at will. He deserves a vote. Never had a vote before. I think he deserves one. Eagles fans like to bring up the fact that, Carson Wentz was having a great half of the season before he got hurt and would have been the MVP. Well, guess what? Very similar season to what Russell Wilson just did. He had a great, phenomenal first half. Now he's not even really in the MVP consideration. Where I'm at. Then let's go Tom Brady. Definitely what he's done to be able to rate that ship hasn't been, statistically what we expect of MVP candidate, but being able to keep that team in check. Going to go with Derrick Henry. After Derrick Henry, we'll go with Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen. I think he edges Pat Mahomes, and then the winner I think is Aaron Rodgers. What he's doing, I think that's all said and done. Wherever the rest of the votes pan out, I think you need to just put Rodgers at the top.
Agree. So we're all in agreement in that. All right, last one before we get into the playoff games. Biggest disappointment and biggest surprise. Tony, start us off.
Well, biggest disappointment I have to believe is the Dallas Cowboys. They had a ton of talent, injuries, poor offensive line play, injuries. Then you lose Dak. Then the defense was absolutely horrendous. Trying to incorporate Mike Nolan's scheme, who was never very good to begin with. After 5 years, you're trying to bring him out there with, I don't know if it's the right personnel fit. Mike McCarthy, I don't think got it done. Then you add in the Dak injury. If you look at the rest of the NFC East and the fact that the Cowboys didn't win it by hook or crook is pretty pathetic. So I think they're going to be the biggest disappointment. Biggest surprise. If Cleveland makes the playoffs, doesn't have to be the biggest surprise. It's just the way they held it together. The actual biggest surprise I would give them would be Miami Dolphins, but Cleveland. When you're looking at it from that aspect, I guess Cleveland getting it done and actually making the playoffs edges Miami for me.
Alex, same question to you.
Honestly, to me, the biggest disappointment is the Cardinals. I really thought after watching Kyler Murray's rookie year that he was going to take the NFL by storm this year again and really progress more than what I thought he was going to do. Because he was ahead of the schedule his rookie year, which surprised me. Because there were some questions, size, everything, accuracy. Is he a run-first guy? All that stuff. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, when you add the best wide receiver, arguably, in the NFL to your roster, and you were good the year before, how do you not make the playoffs this year, right? And I understand injury took a huge part in it, right?
No defense.
Right. Kyler, well, yeah, I thought Isaiah Simmons was really going to help solidify that secondary, and he was underwhelming to me. I really thought he would be in defensive.
Buda Baker did.
Huh?
Buda Baker is actually the guy that did it.
Right, but still, their defense wasn't what it's supposed to be, right? On paper, they had a pretty solid defense. They did not live up to that, right? But Kyler is the one I'm probably the most disappointed in. But if we're going by team, it's the Cardinals because I thought Kyler would get it done. And the injury, I understand, hurts him. But he was playing bad before the injury. He was not playing up to my expectations before the injury.
He definitely regressed the last 6 games of the season.
100%. A lot of people are saying that's because of the injury. That we're going to find out in a couple weeks he's going to have surgery. That maybe it was worse than people were letting on, right? But still, I expected more out of him and the Cardinals. I legitimately thought they drafted really well. And I thought that they were going to be in the playoffs, and they had a chance. I mean, you're playing against a backup quarterback in the Rams, and how do you not win that game? The Rams have looked god-awful. They didn't have their 2 starting running backs. Now, that defense carried them through. We saw that, right? That's how they're in the playoffs. But the Cardinals, it was right there on the plate was set for them, and they cleared the table without eating. It was terrible. Biggest surprise. It's easy to say the Browns because being a diehard Browns fan, the years of the cardiac kids, and then every year seems like cardiac kids with the Browns. Unfortunately, right? We seem to find a way to lose the games we're supposed to win and win games we're not supposed to win. Right? It's weird how that works. I am impressed that they finished it off, but probably the biggest surprise to me, honestly, was the Raiders. And the fact that they were in the hunt. They had a chance to be in the playoffs, and they pulled, the normal Raiders stuff, and they let it slip away. I mean, I think
surprises you?
Yeah, it does, because I think Darren
It's the same thing every year.
I think Darren Waller was absolutely phenomenal and was unguardable, and I thought that they were going to somehow sneak away into the playoffs. I really did, and they let it slip. They just fell apart in the second half.
For me, real quick,
bad coach.
I will agree with that. He is a bad coach.
Yeah, I have no argument there. Biggest disappointment for me was the Minnesota Vikings. I feel like that team had all the talent around them. They have Kirk Cousins, who got a second guaranteed contract. If I'm right, Brian, I don't remember. But Kirk Cousins has got them to the playoffs once now in 3 years that he's been there since he left Washington. It seems to be a case Keenum still has been the better quarterback for that team as he got them to the NFC title against the Eagles till he got shellacked. I'm not blaming Kirk Cousins on all this, guys. I still think the defense underperformed. I still think that all 3 phases are not being coached well. And I don't know if it's Mike Zimmer or not. There's just something going on in that franchise. It's not clicking. Dalvin Cook looks like an MVP player. The offensive line looks good. Justin Jefferson and the trade for Stephon Diggs worked out. But they're not winning. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know if it's Kirk. I don't know if it's the defense. Are they that bad? I don't know. But for me, they're my biggest disappointment because I had them actually winning the division and Green Bay getting in a wild card. So I was completely wrong there. Biggest surprise for me, I want to say Cleveland. I'm not going to say Cleveland because I knew Cleveland was going to get in. I knew Miami was going to be a force to be reckoned with this year, so I'm not going to say Miami. Dallas, Tony took my pick because I would have said Dallas. Just because if you take Dak out, I still think Dallas' team should still make a run for the title and have a winning record. But obviously we're wrong. So it kind of dilutes the argument with Dak. Because with Dak, people are saying plug in Andy Dalton, this team is still going to win, and they didn't. So, there's a lot of leverage there. Yeah, I'll throw that in.
You won more than they were winning with Dak Prescott.
So with that being said, my biggest surprise for me is the Los Angeles Rams making it to the postseason. I had them. I honestly had them, guys, not even being third place in the NFC West. I had Cardinals taking over the third place spot. For them to be able to get in after losing Todd Gurley, having issues inside their own franchise with not being able to pay Clay Matthews and still haven't been able to pay him, and not being able to pay Todd Gurley, and then Jared Goff, we're all not believers in him. I mean, $106 million or $110 million, and he is so inconsistent. But then Sean McVay just showed us how hell of a good coach he is. I mean, and the guy ran the same formation over 30 times opening night, Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, and won. Like, it's insane how good of a coach he is. I think sometimes he does get a little too cute, but overall, he proved all the haters wrong, and he was able to get in the playoffs. And I think that should show him a ton of credit to get the Rams in there, because all it takes is one shot. They got that shot. We'll see what happens on this weekend as we talk about it. But those are my two.
You picked a team that lost to the Jets as your biggest surprise, which is kind of funny.
I know.
But listen,
Thank you, Tony.
The fact that Sean McVay – what's that?
We picked the Browns. They lost to the Jets, too.
No, I know. But the fact that McVay was able to get that win against Arizona at the end of the season with a backup quarterback that was a financial analyst, we know how big of a dork financial analysts are and how unathletic they are, and
total losers.
Yeah, he was able to win a playoff game against a team that needed to win, and it was a weird game with Kyler Murray not playing, but you got to give McVay and the Rams a lot of credit for winning it.
Drew, you took both my teams, so congratulations on that. So I'm gonna have to go on the fly here. My biggest disappointment that's not the Vikings would be the Denver Broncos, because I really thought this would be a team that would take another step forward this year. They really took a major step back. I said they would probably be about the same record, 7 or 8 wins, but the team would just be better. Like, it'd be a better team and end up with the same record. Not at all. They finished 5-11, and now when I thought we were going to get some answers to some questions at quarterback, we still have those questions. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they look in the draft for a quarterback, because Drew Lock has not really taken the bull by the horns. I would like to give him another year with a healthy roster. That's what I would do, but I understand why they may look a different direction. But to me, I just thought that they would be a better team than they were, despite the injuries. It didn't really materialize. And the surprise to me is the Chicago Bears, because I have no goddamn idea how this team won 8 games. I have no clue, because it is like the weirdest team. Like, sometimes they defend really well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the offense looks like it's the Niners in the 80s, and sometimes it looks like it's the, just terrible. So the surprise is I can't make heads or tails of them. That's my surprise, because they actually found a way to win 8 games. I don't get it.
Me either. All right, guys. Yeah.
I picked them to make the playoffs, by the way.
You did, Alex. I know I was going to bring that up, but I didn't want you to sulk. So, guys, check out, before we dive into the games, check out this awesome clip we have for you for social media.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
Yeah. That's how you can find the buzz on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Guys, real quick, we're going to dive in real quick.
OnlyFans, Drew?
No OnlyFans. No, you're not ready for that. Alex does, though. Take it down just real quick, guys. Buy or sell, and then we'll get into the playoff games. Alex, Brian, and Tony, Big Ben will have a deep playoff run. Are you buying or selling? Alex?
Selling.
Brian?
No, sell hard.
Tony?
Sell.
Yeah, I'm selling as well. I'm selling.
They might win a game. I don't know about
okay. Aaron Jones is the X factor for the Green Bay success. Tony.
You broke up for a second there, Drew.
Aaron Jones is the X factor for Green Bay success.
No, I'm selling that. I'm selling that. I mean, he's a free agent. They already have A.J. Dillon and Jamal Williams, and listen, as long as you have a bad man slinging the rock in Green Bay, he's the factor for their success.
100% agree.
All right, Brian, you agree?
I would sell this because I think the X factor is the defense, because you know what you're going to get out of Rodgers. If the defense can and it's been up and down. Ryan Havermill from our boys thinks Mike Patton is a complete idiot. So he's a Packer fan. So, yeah, I mean, if they don't go far, it's going to come to the defense because the offense can do it in a sleep.
Is that the same Ryan Havermill that said Mike McCarthy would be a phenomenal fit for
Yes.
Dallas?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He said that in our group chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could go kill himself.
Jesus. I mean, remember what I said about Mike McCarthy? I told you
Yeah, I
it wasn't
did.
going to work. I told you.
I agreed.
Everything that I said has come true. It's crazy.
Once he lied about doing the film work to Jerry Jones, he should have been fired on the spot.
Yes.
Right away.
I
Termination for cause right there. Done.
I didn't write this, but since I got two Cowboys on, I have to throw it out there. Kellen Moore, do you think he's a good OC or a bad OC?
I like him because from when he was with Jason Garrett, you could actually see the difference between when he was actually calling the plays to when Garrett was calling the plays. There's a little bit more creativity. He's still young, but he's shown some good stuff out there. It's always a little difficult to see what he fully had control of. But right now, I'll say he's trending good. He turned down the Boise. Well, actually, he accepted the Boise State job, then was convinced to stay. So it kind of leads me to believe that we might be looking at a Jason Garrett situation where he's kind of the coach in waiting, so to speak. So I'll ride with Kellen Moore. I mean, he wanted me a ton of money when he was a quarterback at Boise State.
How many years you suffer with McCarthy? That's the biggest question.
I think it gets one more because I don't think you can judge a whole hell of a lot on this year for so many reasons. Okay, you didn't have an off season because of COVID. Your quarterback got hurt; he was out for the year. Your defense looked terrible because you hired the wrong asshole to coordinate your defense. He's going to get hit by a truck or something. So that'll fix itself probably.
Mike Nolan hates you now.
Yeah,
he's earned one more year on the Kellen Moore front. It's funny that Tony mentioned that. Him and I went to a Cowboys game at MetLife against the Jets, and we look at each other. We're like, "Who the hell's calling this offense?" Because it's not Kellen Moore. It was so goddamn obvious that it was Jason Garrett pulling the controller back, to call the plays because everything was just ridiculously bad. I'm fine with it, but the irony of the situation is you brought in Mike McCarthy to be an offensive guy, and then you're having somebody else call the plays. Like it's just kind of weird.
It is weird. Miami Dolphins will be in the postseason in 2021. Are you buying or selling, Alex?
I don't see how they can't be. They're gonna improve this year in the offseason. They're gonna add more. It's gonna be another year of Tua in the system. I don't know that Fitzpatrick comes back. I don't know if I want to be him and be the backup there because I think Tua is going to get the full run next year. Fitzpatrick's not coming in the second half or in big situations. They got to find out if Tua's the guy, which I told you I thought he was, but I'm a little hesitant now on that choice of him being the guy because he did look lost at times in critical situations.
Brian?
I think it's a difficult call because you got to say, well, whose spot are they going to take? And I've already said, depending on the coach, I think the Chargers can get in. So now I got to find two teams to knock out to get Miami in. I think I think they're right there. It depends how their schedule breaks. Because remember, now this year they're not going to have they're going to have a second place schedule, not a last place schedule, and that makes a big difference. It's funny. Like everyone's like, oh, you're such a loser. You believe in tanking. Like, listen, the Cowboys are going to have a third place schedule next year, not a first place schedule. That's a big difference for next year. That may be an issue for Miami, but I honestly think it's a coin flip. I really think it's that close.
I'm convinced McCarthy is tied to the mafia. I mean, just look at the guy. Blake. Tony.
I want to buy this, but I'm going to sell it. I think Tua is a year away from being a playoff caliber quarterback, maybe 2 years away. That defense is good. They're probably going to add a young receiver in this draft, a very talented receiver, but that might take a little bit of time too to gel.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. Devontae Smith probably be the
Devontae Smith? Okay.
there. I mean, just the familiarity with Tua. I mean, it kind of works a
That
little
makes
bit.
sense.
Maybe they wait to the second round if they can grab like a Jaden Waddell or something like that. But that's yet to be seen. But they'll add some offensive talent. But Tua just really hasn't looked good. I mean, you can see some of these other guys and what they do. Even Jalen Hurts at times, you've seen him run the ball with some effectiveness. He did throw some, he threw 3 interceptions last game against Buffalo.
Yeah.
That defense really saved him a lot. I mean, there's been times where he struggled to hit 100 yards. I mean, without a strong running game, like if Lamar Jackson throws for 100 yards or whatever, it's probably because he has 160 yards rushing, or J.K. Dobbins or these guys go off.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
That's not Miami's offense. They need somebody who can throw it. So I'm going to go I'm going to sell this. I think it's at least 2 years away.
But they're still very much ahead of schedule, in my opinion.
Is Harris entering the draft?
Najee Harris? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
What has he got left to prove?
For me, it's a sell. I'm with Tony too. Just based on what Brian said earlier, the Chargers getting in. I think Cleveland's going to get back in. The only team that I can see going out is all depends on what Ben Roethlisberger does. What are Steelers going to do for the future? What are they going to plug in at Pittsburgh? That could be something to talk about heading to the offseason. Dolphins could replace them, but I highly doubt it. I still believe in Mike Tomlin and that team. But I'm going to sell on Miami.
And another thing, Drew, since we're selling Miami, and it's listen, losing Shane Galley, let's remember that he resigned today, or was it yesterday? So that's another young quarterback in a new offense coming up, and that's never a good situation because, I mean, it's just, you want familiarity with these quarterbacks. And Shane Galley, he was good for fantasy football 10 years ago when he had Emmitt Smith. But at this point, so we don't know what he's going to be coming in with. So let's try to,
That's why I thought Anthony Lynn deserved one more year with Herbert. That was my only reason for keeping him, was the continuity with the young quarterback.
Yeah, I mentioned that myself. Last couple weeks when we talked about Anthony Lynn's firing, and that is the roll of the dice. That you play with is how bad you screw up these young quarterbacks, because go through some of the quarterbacks that are struggling. They've all had new offense coordinators time and time again.
Las Vegas Raiders head coach John Gruden will coach his final year next season and return back to ESPN booth, which I pray to God that happens. Brian, buy or sell?
You know what? The funny part is he's part of the ownership group, so I'm not sure if he wants to fire himself or not. But if they don't have improvement into next year, I mean, they got to sugar it off the pot. I mean, they've had a lot of draft picks. They've sold pieces off. They've
screwed.
Yeah, I mean, you can come in with all the fanfare and all this and that. It is a results-oriented game, and if you're not winning, and they had every opportunity to make the playoffs this year, and let's be honest with you, they almost lost to the Jets. So call that Jets, malfeasance. So that's 7. They should have won at the end. I mean, they need to figure it out and quick. I mean, the fact that they were 2-6 at home this year. Now again, home's weird because there's nobody there. But that's just not going to fly. They need to.
It looks like a toilet.
Yeah, they need to see some improvement. They really didn't. It's only going to last very long, and I don't know if he get another spot actually, because he comes with a lot of baggage. So I will purchase this.
If he doesn't,
Tony?
If he doesn't return for his final season as coach, he could always be Josh Jacobs' Uber driver. So I mean, that's one thing you could do. Listen. I'm not a Gruden fan. The whole Chucky thing, I think, is passe. It's an act. I mean, when he does his QB breakdowns on Monday Night Football and that stuff, he thinks everybody's great, and he just doesn't see. It just doesn't seem to work for me. I think he's going to stay there as long as he wants to be there, though. I mean, his like Brian mentioned with ownership and everything. It seems like they invested in John Gruden to be the face of the Raiders in their move to Las Vegas, and they really don't have a franchise player yet as far as to be the face. So Gruden stays as long as he wants.
Yeah, I'm selling. I think Gruden's going to stay as well. I think he's going to come back for a couple more years. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I sell. I was the same reasons. He's part of the ownership group. He's his own GM, right? He's not going to fire himself. He's going to stick there until they have a winning season so he can save some face, and then he's going to roll out.
All right, guys. We're going to check out before we get to our talking about playoff games. Check this out quick.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you won't know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by a locksmith. On the block, throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look with the top dish. Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. This is how champions are made, but it never happens in a day.
There we go. Let's get into it, guys, real quick. I know we want to talk. Everybody's waiting for this all weekend. I've been getting tons of hits and messages. Here we go. Tony, Buffalo Bills against the Indianapolis Colts. First game of the weekend for the wild card weekend when I cannot wait. Talk a little bit about the game and give me a winner.
You know, I'm really disappointed in this game, to be honest with you. These are two of the teams that I think could make a solid playoff run. Josh Allen and what he's been doing in Buffalo has been nothing short of spectacular. Indianapolis, I think, is one of the best complete teams. So, I mean, this matchup is one of these matches where you really don't want to pick because I really like both teams, and I want to see them both have on. And here they are playing in week one. I'm going to take Buffalo. I think the secondary of Indianapolis is going to break down. I think Diggs stretches it. And I think that their defense is going to be able to do enough to stopping Jonathan Taylor. And the Bills have struggled at times against the run, but I think that if they could slow him down a little bit, Josh Allen's going to make a couple more plays. Phillip Rivers' implosion is always on the horizon, as Drew, I'm sure you're well aware of. So I think Rivers throws a late interception to cost the Colts a game.
I hate you. Go ahead, Brian.
It is a tough game, but this is one of those games. I mean, listen, Buffalo's got something cooking there, and the thing about this game is I think Buffalo's going to be able to score. Indy's defense is very good. I think the difference in the game is going to be, can Buffalo's much maligned defense, which has not been good this year, it's not been anything close to what we've remembered it to be from years past, can they stop a pretty good Colts offense, even including, some throws through the air? Again, I think at the end of the day, I just don't have the confidence in Phil Rivers in this spot. I just don't. And everything looks good in Buffalo. I think that they're primed to make a run here. I think Buffalo wins and Buffalo covers.
Alex?
Yeah, listen, I think it's a blowout. I think Buffalo absolutely mops the floor with Indianapolis Colts. I'm tired of hearing these clowns tell me the Colts are favored or should be favored and they're going to win. If you look at Buffalo's defense since week 11, they're a top 5 defense. They're going to shut down the run. That offense is unstoppable for the last, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. I don't think it's a close game. I think the talking heads have this one wrong, and I think it's going to be an absolute massacre. I think they win by 17 points.
All right, for me, for me, I'm with Tony. I have both these teams going to do a complete deep playoff run, and it's unfortunate that they have to meet up first week. Buffalo limped in thanks to Miami losing, getting their ass kicked by Buffalo. And so I'm sorry, not Buffalo limped in. I'm sorry, Indy limped in. I'm sorry, my bad. And so with that being said, man, I got to agree with you guys. Buffalo is the hottest team, arguably, going into the playoffs. Their defense has gotten a lot better because they got players returning back. You got Tavion White at corner, which is absolutely scary to me. Josh Allen, can he get over this hump? Right, Tony? We talked about a little bit where Josh Allen and this team, they should have won last year against Houston, and they just fell apart. So can Josh Allen overcome this hurdle? Can Buffalo, the team, overcome this hurdle who hasn't won a playoff game since the 90s? So can it happen? Yes, I have Buffalo winning this game. It sucks for me personally because this might be Rivers' last game, and Rivers is one of my favorite players of all time. And I do want to see this Colts team win because, the offensive line is there, but Rivers isn't the same anymore. And I try to talk myself out of it. But we talked about before, Tony and Brian, the zip isn't there anymore. It's not there. And Jonathan Taylor, who's been great as of late, can this go for 60 minutes? Can they get that lead, but they can't finish the game? They give it up. So I got to go with the more complete team. I got to go with Buffalo Bills. Moving on. Next game we have online for Saturday is the second game. Seattle Seahawks against the Los Angeles Rams. Brian.
Seattle struggled with teams they should have no business struggling with all year, and I just feel this is prime for an upset. The Rams are low-key one of the better teams in the league. Again, you look at offensive, defensive rankings, they're up there all around. And, look, they've let me down in a couple of spots, but to me, assuming again, this is all assuming Jared Goff is healthy. I mean, if he's not healthy, that just changes everything. But assuming he's who he is, I think the Rams go in there, and I think they beat the Seahawks. These two teams know each other very well. They play each other all the time. Rams play them tough. I like the Rams here, and I think it's an outright win.
Alex,
I'm going with the Seahawks. I think the better defense right now is the Seahawks defense. They look like they're playing better. They have turned everything around. If you look, again, another top 5 defense since I think week 12 is what it is. It's the difference, right? If Russell Wilson, I think the problem with this team is the offense right now. If Russell Wilson can get back to that MVP season playing that he was at the beginning of the year, I think this is not a easy win, but a 4 to 7 point win for the Seahawks.
For me, this game is division rivals. They split the series during the season. I know it's in Seattle. I'm with Brian. If Jared Goff is there, I would feel more comfortable leaning towards the Rams just because I think that running game will sustain itself. They'll build the time of possession. I think Sean McVay probably can go what he did against Dallas the first week. Just keep running and pushing and winning the trenches. Jamal Adams, we don't know if he's going to play. Is he playing? Yeah. What about Reed? Is Reed playing? I remember Pete Carroll saying
injury report for that one.
Well, I know there's injuries on the defensive side for Seattle. I know Seattle's offense has not been playing a full 60-minute game. They're showing up late in the second half and producing. Can Seattle withstand that much on the trenches till the end of the game and be able to be competitive? I'm going to go with Seattle. I think this is going to be the lowest scoring game of the whole weekend, and I got Seattle winning 17-10. Tony.
Well, it looks like it's going to be the Sportsbox on one side and the Buzz on the other side because I'm going with the Rams. And that all is precipitated again on if Jared Goff plays. In that last matchup they had, right, Cam Akers didn't play. And I think he's going to be the factor in this game that we're mentioning. Now, Alex mentioned that the Seattle defense has played a lot better, and I think they are, top 5 in the last 5-6 weeks of the season, which is really a great improvement for them. But I think with Cam Akers and the minus Sean McVay and Jared Goff, I think they do enough to beat a Seattle team that is going to struggle to score. Listen, Jalen Ramsey locks up DK Metcalf. No matter if certain idiots and assholes named Nick Nazario think that DK Metcalf is the best receiver in the league or whatever, and create a poll or whatever Nazario does, that's fine. But plain and simple, Jalen Ramsey locks him up. When Jalen Ramsey locks him up, everybody else rolls over to Tyler Lockett, and there's not much other offensive firepower. There's a reason why teams have figured out Russell Wilson in the last second half of the season, and he hasn't been playing like the MVP. It's not like he just all of a sudden got bad. And let's not forget, everybody was like unanimous: Aaron Donald, right, for Defensive Player of the Year. Aaron Donald is going to be running after Russell Wilson, and Aaron Donald is a very, very big bad mother effer, and I'm going with the Rams. I'm going to go with Jared Goff and Cam Akers being the deciding factors.
It also helps too that Cooper Kupp is off COVID list and he is playing too as well. Just want to throw that out there. That helps a lot for this Rams offense. In the Saturday barn burner of the weekend, we got the Washington football team going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Alex, what you got?
I got Tampa, but I think this is a closer game than people think because I think that front four is really going to make Tom uncomfortable in the pocket for most of the game. I think they figure it out in the second half and they start working more slants and more screen game to kind of take some pressure off of Tom. But I think in that first half, it's maybe 10-7 or 10-6 game, 10-9, maybe Washington's kicking field goals. But that offense has looked decent with Alex Smith at quarterback. And they got Scary Terry back, right? So with Scary Terry back, that's a totally different offense with Logan and Terry McLaurin and J.D. McKissick coming out of the backfield as a receiver and Gibson running the ball as well as he has this year. They have some weapons, and Alex Smith utilizes and gets the best out of those weapons on offense, and we've all talked about that defense. So I think it's going to be closer than people think it's going to be, and I still think Tampa Bay wins, maybe on a last-minute touchdown or, maybe it's a 10-point game, but it's not all these people talking about Tom throwing for 350 yards and he's going to expose them and they're going to look dumb. Granted, I wouldn't have said what Chase said, right? I would have kept my mouth shut and not poked the bear in Tom Brady. But we know how Tom Brady likes to be the underdog and get, a chip on his shoulder. So I wouldn't have done that. But I still think Tampa wins. I just think it's closer than people think. I don't think it's a blowout per se.
I don't know why. I don't know about if you two feel this or you three. Why does this feel like it's scary? It's almost like something could happen. It kind of reminds me of 2010 when the Saints came to Seattle and Marshawn Lynch and the Seahawks got in with a 7-9 record and they beat the Saints that year. I don't want to say that's going to happen. Washington's offense is not bad. We always say quarterback. They're a quarterback away. It seems like because they got McKissick, they got McLaren. I mean, they got probably one of the most surprising players this year, Logan Thomas at tight end. Gibson, their offensive line isn't that bad. It's kind of scary, guys. And Tampa Bay's defense is not that great. I mean, they got worked the last couple of weeks. Atlanta Falcons and this and the Detroit Lions. I think they beat them pretty easily. But overall, it's still not a scary defense that I think most talking heads are saying. I got Tampa, but Brian, I know Tony, you're next, but I'm scared. I think this is going to be like a 24-20 type of game.
Well, that would be pretty funny if it's 24-20 because you both are, and I don't know. On paper, what you guys are saying is correct. That the Washington offense has some talent, but they have not scored over 20 points in a friggin' football game since week 10. Yeah, 15, 17. Yeah, they haven't scored over 20 points in a football game.
Alex Smith hasn't got his steroids yet.
And that was against the defensive powerhouse. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong damn fucking thing. I'm sorry. They haven't scored 20 points. Week 15, week 16, they scored 23. They scored 23 against Pittsburgh. That's what they beat them, and they scored 23 against San Fran. I was looking at the wrong column.
Boom!
There you go. Yeah, because they scored 41 against Dallas. I was going to say, hold on a minute.
No, that did. I apologize. I was looking at the wrong side. But then listen,
I didn't know this.
the defense is the offense didn't look good last week against a poor Eagles team.
You're right.
And before that, I am not buying their offense at all. From what I hear, Alex Smith is doubtful to play as well, and hopefully he does play. But he hasn't been taking first team reps the last 2 weeks. He's not taking first team reps now. Taylor Hankey's, that just has nightmare. And I think that the way Tampa Bay is trying to ramp up now, I think they go out there, they prove a point. Quick passing game. No Mike Evans. He might play as a decoy if they're lucky. They do get Shaq Barrett back this week.
Yep.
Big off COVID. So I like Tampa Bay. I don't think this is close. I think it's at least a 14-point victory.
Brian?
So if you take out the game that the Washington team went into Dallas and blew out the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, this team is averaging 19.6 points per game offensively. That's not going to cut it. And for all the talk of how good the Washington defense is, and it is, that's the second best defense in yards allowed in the league. Tampa Bay is actually sixth. So they're right there. The problem is I don't think that Washington's going to be able to score with this team. The question then becomes, if they hit their average, if they score 20 points, can the Bucs score 21? Yeah, I can. The spread's 8.5. I think the spread is a touch on the high end. It could be a backdoor cover on the Bucs side, because I think that the Washington can keep it close. But I just think at some point, this is Tom Brady in the playoffs, and this is exactly what he's done his entire career, and we had that expectation coming in. That is why this line is what it is. Everyone in the NFC has wanted to play the NFC East champion for weeks. There was a reason for that. We just got done seeing Washington struggle against the Eagles on Sunday night, despite the fact that the Eagles took their second string quarterback out and put their third string quarterback in the fourth quarter. So it's
brilliant move.
It actually was. But from the standpoint of what's my expectation for this team, the line is a little high for a road game. And do I think Tampa wins? Yeah, I don't think Washington's going to beat Tampa, but I just think 8.5 is a high number.
Okay.
Will the Buccaneers visit the Capitol while they're there?
Oh God.
Everybody else is.
Everybody else, yeah.
Sunday morning. I wish this was a Sunday night game. I don't know why it wasn't. Tennessee Titans go against the Baltimore Ravens, rematch of last year's divisional matchup where Tennessee upset and pretty much shocked the world and beat Baltimore. Guys, going in this game, Lamar Jackson is 0-2 in postseason. The Ravens in both his games, the rushing actually has been the weaker of the two evils when it comes to passing. Passing has actually been great for the Ravens in the two playoff games under Jackson. I'm looking at this game, and this is a tough one. This is probably my toughest game of the week for me. It could go either way. Derrick Henry, I know the Titans rely on him. They go through him. And my X factor, I wrote a piece up for the wild card weekend on the Buzz. My X factor is going to be Ryan Tannehill in this game. Can Ryan Tannehill step up to the plate and be that quarterback that Tennessee needs him to be? With A.J. Brown and Davis on the outside, with Jonnu Smith at tight end, can this offense perform? And can Mike Vrabel step up and do what he did last year and expose Lamar Jackson and expose that defense? This is tough. I have Baltimore winning this game, but I'm really on the fence. I want to hear your guys' opinions on this. Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, this is another game like the Buffalo-Indianapolis game. That's just it's one of them tough games to kind of pick, and it's going to be one of the better games of the weekend. That's for sure. I think when it comes down to it, I think the Ravens are going to focus on just stopping Derrick Henry. And stopping Derrick Henry is maybe 120 yards. And just trying to keep him out of the end zone. It's just a thing. They do have the defense on the outside to slow down A.J. Brown a little bit, who's a very physically talented receiver, but not as he's not as polished as a lot of the other guys that might give him credit. The way Lamar Jackson or that running game has been playing and the passing game has improved, Hollywood Brown's actually catching the ball, which is a huge upswing for that offense. I mean, he was dreadful in some of these games with these just dropping it. And even Mark Andrews, who last year was phenomenal, he's just had a ton of drops this year. But in the last few weeks, it seems like they've righted the ship. And if anything can be said about Tennessee, is their defense is absolutely horrendous.
Yep.
They give up points it's going out of style. So what we're doing here is we're taking the Ravens. It's a hotter offense. The running game is hitting on all cylinders. And I think Lamar Jackson makes a couple plays now, and they get over the hump, and they do get that win.
Brian.
This is the team that took Baltimore out last year, and this last year was everybody thought it was going to be Baltimore and the Chiefs, and Tennessee went in there and they beat down the Ravens. And you look at these two teams faced off earlier this year again in Baltimore. Baltimore was up 21-10 early in the third quarter and found a way to lose that game in overtime. The problem with Baltimore is and I agree with you, Tony. I think Tennessee's defense is not at all anything that's going to write home about, but Baltimore's just not built to come back in games. Baltimore's got to be ahead so that they can run the ball down your throat. And it is a very, very tough game for me to read. I just look at what Tennessee sometimes struggles with teams that they shouldn't be struggling with. Something here tells me that you're going to see a very similar game to what we saw a year ago in Baltimore. I think Tennessee's going to find a way to win this game. I understand that they are the underdog here, but they are at home. I just something about the Ravens. It's very Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, they were supposed to be this really, really, really good team. It hadn't really materialized this year. They did make the playoffs, but Tennessee's built right. I mean, look, they can run the ball very, very effectively, but they can also throw the ball downfield, and their receivers are very good. And I think with Baltimore, if they're down, I think it's very difficult for them to come back, even if the defense is very good.
Alex?
I think the Titans win this going away. I think they run the ball down their throat over and over and over and over again with Henry. I think he has 250 yards. I think he absolutely dominates this game. Listen, they're number one in time of possession by a huge margin, right? They are number 4 in points per game, okay? And they're second in rush yards per game, right? And that's only Henry. Who else? Name the other running back on the team.
McNichols.
Right, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
Tannehill.
Right. Tannehill is a better quarterback than people thought. That's an Adam Gase effect, right? Now that he is in Tennessee, he has looked he threw for 3,819 yards this year. He had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I'll take that as my franchise quarterback right now. I'll take him over Baker right now, right? He looks good. He's been better than advertised with his time in Miami 2 years in a row. He's been much better than people thought he was. So I think they win this game going away, and I think it's not that their defense has to stop the Ravens so much as the Ravens need to stop Derrick Henry, and I just don't think they do it.
Well, they did it last time they faced off, actually. I mean, they held Derrick Henry to under 100 yards.
Right, and they lost in overtime.
And then he hit over 100 yards in overtime.
And they lost in overtime, right?
Right.
I mean, he's just like a 250-pound battering ram. He's going to wear them down.
You know what Derrick Henry is, but you say the Ravens can't stop Derrick Henry. Well, they really already did in regulations. They would have held him over 100 yards. I mean, he didn't hit 100 yards in the overtime, and that's you hear it there. So I mean, he could have wore him out or whatever. But I mean, they were pretty effective when you consider how it is to stop a 2,000-yard rusher. But if you think that Derrick Henry is going to go in there and rush for 200 yards or 250 yards, I think you might be a little bit on the shit that Lawrence Taylor was on in the 80s, which is keeping me up tonight.
Hey, listen, all I can tell you is I live in Maryland. I hear all these clowns talk about the Ravens. I won $800 off idiots last year that picked the Ravens over the Titans. I knew what was coming. It's the same thing this year. Yes, their defense is better. I will give you that, right?
Well,
100%.
But I'm not really – listen, if the Titans win, I don't think too many people really would be surprised. But if you think that Derrick Henry is going to go You said 250 for Derrick Henry. I mean, that's eating.
I think he's going to eat. I think he's on a mission.
All right, we'll see.
All right. Yeah, we'll see. That's like I said. That's going to be. Do we all agree that's going to be the game of the week?
Yeah, from the way everything looks, I think that's the matchup that I
Tony?
like.
The game of the day, definitely. I mean, the Indianapolis
Okay.
Dolphins game should be fun too, but I think Baltimore Titans should be the game of the day.
Okay. All right. All right, Tony. We're back to you for the New Orleans Saints against the Chicago Bears. This is going to be the game of the week right here. I feel it. So, who do you got for this one, brother?
Listen, why are the Bears here? It's only because there's 17 out of the playoffs. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's just a weird year in the NFC that just the fact that the Bears are there. I mean, I'll give them credit. They changed their offense. They went to a power running game, and Trubisky's made some plays, and they actually held pretty close with Green Bay last week too. So I mean, if they can stick with the run, I just don't think that they're going to be built to stop Drew Brees. Their defense isn't the typical Bears defense that everybody kind of has come to be familiar with for the last few years. I think Drew Brees orchestrates that offense perfectly, and Kamara has a big day, and they win this pretty handily. I don't know what the spread is off the top of my head, but what is it?
10 points.
10 points in a playoff game isn't anything you really want to give up. But if I had to decide with somewhere, I'd take the Saints minus 10.
Yeah.
Let's go, Brian.
I think this is a bad spot for the Saints. I mean, call it what you want. I'm kind of surprised by it, but the Bears' offense the last 3-4 weeks is top 5 in football, and I have no idea how. I'm not claiming I know why. It just
well,
is.
they played some pretty bad opponents too.
Well, the Saints D is gonna have to this to me. Saints D is very good. Bears D is very good. If it comes down to offenses, I don't think either of them. Either of these offenses are really built to score a ton of points against each other. He's got Ravens by 14.
Do it. Do the bet.
Ravens by 14. You could just middle it and go bet that somewhere else and harvest it. Long story short. Anyway, I think I agree with Tony. 10's a lot. I think the Bears backed into the playoffs simply because they got the Arizona decided to be absolutely terrible at football the last week of the year. Saints have some demons in the postseason to exercise following the last couple of years and how they've been eliminated. I think the Saints find a way, but I don't think it's by 10. I don't.
Alex.
I mean, my heart wants to pick the Bears because I think that there's a chance that they could upset them if everything lines up magically, the stars and everything. But the Saints just have too much firepower, and that defense is not a slouch. So I can't go against the Saints. I mean, that's too big of a upset, I feel like, for them.
You did play before, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, man, it's the Saints. I got a 33-17. I think with Michael Thomas back and healthy, I think the Saints team, like Tony said, it's going to be orchestrated beautifully with Drew Brees. Drew Brees is out on a mission, just like Alex, you said. Derrick Henry you think he's going to eat? I think Drew Brees is going to eat in this game, and I really do believe that this. Not Drew Brees is going to eat. I think this offense is going to eat. I meant to say that. Sorry. And the defense is no slouch. They aren't. It's a good defense. I like their defense a lot. I think they're playing really good. Lattimore and Hayward and these boys, and I really think that they're going to win the trenches. And I got the Saints winning this game and moving on.
Can anybody really ever bet on Mr. Trubisky, especially in the playoff game, though? I mean, that's
God, no.
I mean, the offense, the changes. If you look at who they played, though, I just pulled it up. I know it was weak. Jacksonville, Minnesota, Houston, Detroit.
Right.
That's probably the bottom 5 defenses in the league, and that's what the Bears' offense is putting up numbers against. So Saints defense is in a whole other stratosphere than what they've been playing against.
And Green Bay's defense only gave up 16. You know what I mean? Like, would you not think that the Saints defense is better than Green Bay's defense?
Absolutely.
So, I don't think – I mean, it was 23-26 the first time they met. That was week, I think, 9. Yeah, week 9. So, but I think this is a different team. I think New Orleans is rolling in a much better shape now than they were at week 9.
Pittsburgh Steelers are going against the Cleveland Browns, who is Alex's team, as he is rocking the shirt this whole podcast. I'm leaving him last. Brian, who's winning? Who you got? What's going to happen?
This is such a tough game to call because, listen, we just saw these two teams play, and it wasn't like the Browns really did a whole lot up until late in the game. There was a point where they were like really close to each other.
Mhm.
And like, look, I would like to pick the Browns because I mean they've only been waiting for a playoff win since I was senior in high school, and I'm old now. But and please don't get me wrong, I am not a huge believer in the Steelers longer term. Like I said, if the Steelers win one game, and that might be the only game that they win because they would be going to Buffalo, assuming Buffalo wins next week. Yep. There's just so much upheaval right now with the whole COVID stuff. Who's going to be coaching? Who's going to be playing? It just seems like everything is turning against Cleveland at the wrong time.
Right.
I think Pittsburgh wins it. And ask me this question 12 months from now with a whole different potentially quarterback in Pittsburgh, maybe. I say differently. I think Pittsburgh finds a way. For me,
I'm gonna let Tony go after me. For me, this game brings so much joy to me because it's my boys' team. I'm happy that Cleveland got in. I called it a couple years ago when they drafted Baker, and I saw the moves they were making. Last week scared me, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. 22 with second and third stringers, no TJ Watt, no Minka. I mean, no Joe Hayden.
9 starters that weren't.
I don't understand, and this is what pisses me off with Baker. It's just I feel like he goes off script a lot. I really do. I think he doesn't stick with what he needs to do with two of the what we could say, guys, two of the top 15 running backs in the NFL in Chubb and Hunt, and we're not utilizing them to their fullest degree. I mean, it should be, 85% running and 15% passing. Honestly, that's what I see this offense how it should be. They should take the playbook from Mike Vrabel in that offense and install it to Cleveland. That's what scares me. Is Baker Mayfield. I in my article I wrote Cleveland 23, Pittsburgh 20. I think Cleveland's going to win with a field goal. But now with all these COVID hits and head coach is not going to be there, he's not going to call the game. Stefanski, I got to go Pittsburgh, and I'm going to flip that score. Pittsburgh 23, Cleveland 20. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, this is a game that I'm coming in and I'm looking at as soon as the matchups were announced, and I'm like, I like Cleveland at the upset. I really do. I mean, no Bud Dupree. Linebackers are thin with Pittsburgh. I really wasn't impressed with them. If you looked at how Pittsburgh came away, in the last second of the season, teams that were tough were able to beat them up a little bit. A lot of Nick Chubb, a lot of Kareem Hunt, and I think that's how Cleveland could win the game. But now with the COVID and you take Stefanski out of it, I think it's just a shame for Cleveland right now because they were in a spot to really pull an upset against a rival, and I just don't see it happening now. I think Big Ben and their offensive creativity with the wideouts and getting Claypool and Deontay Johnson and Smith-Schuster involved, I just think that they're just going to be able to do enough to get the win. It's going to be close. It's going to be an ugly game, and it's probably going to be a Baker Mayfield mistake difference. And it's a shame because I think if Cleveland had all their horses and Stefanski was there, because I do think you brought up the fact that they should take the Tennessee playbook. Well, they pretty much did because Stefanski and what he did. Yeah. It's the same thing, and that was I picked Cleveland to make the playoffs in the preseason because of that factor. And Baker's, like I said, I give Baker credit because he has run it pretty well, so to speak. But Pittsburgh just has too much experience right down the line, and I think there's just too many underlying factors not really involving football that hurt Cleveland this week. And I'm going to take Pittsburgh in a close one, which I really wanted to take Cleveland though.
Alex, finish it up for us for the night.
Yeah, listen.
We went way over the time.
I was taking Pittsburgh before all the COVID issues. I have been very frustrated as a Browns fan the last 3 weeks, how we have reverted back to let's let Baker throw the ball 30 times when we have 2 stud running backs. I think our playbook has shifted more towards a pass offense. And I understand we have a lot of weapons, right? Njoku's a pretty dang good tight end. Hooper's not a slouch, but he has underachieved, right? The emergence of Higgins, the emergence of People Jones. We know what Landry is. He's a monster, right? Our rookie tight end that we drafted. There's a lot of weapons out there. But when I think you cannot argue this. We have the best backfield in the NFL as far as a 1-2 punch. Right, they're the 2 best running backs on the same team for sure. They're both starting running backs on 90% of the NFL team.
Sure.
So, if I think maybe Stefanski being gone, maybe the offensive coordinator goes back to our original playbook, and maybe we start running the ball more, and that gives us a shot. But I still think there's just not. It's the Cleveland curse. I just think that there's not enough. As much as my heart wants to say Browns, and a nail biter, I think we lose by like 10. I really do. I don't think it's as close a game as a lot of people are thinking. I think Pittsburgh has our number. Tomlin is a great coach. TJ Watt, I don't know what we're going to do because Bitonio is out. A lot of people, that's under the radar, right? He's out with COVID. So without him, right, it's going to be tough to stop that defense.
What's Wyatt Teller's status? Is he coming back this week?
I believe so, yeah. So, but still, I mean, Bitonio to me is our best offensive lineman. Now, next year it's going to be our left tackle, right? Our rookie for sure, right? But right now, because of experience and everything, Bitonio is really that unsung hero of that offensive line. I hope that we win. I hope that I'm terribly wrong, and I'm hoping maybe by me going with the Steelers, the football gods will give me my hopes and dreams of us.
They don't care about you.
Knocking them out of the playoffs, right? Browns fans would probably riot in the streets and throw a parade if we beat the Steelers in the playoffs and knock them out. But, I mean, it's a bleak forecast, even if we somehow do win. I don't think we do, but I don't want to play Buffalo the way Buffalo's playing right now, right? I really don't. So even if we win one more game, the next game I think is unwinnable for us. So I think we're going to be knocked out in the first round. It's going to suck, but I'm just happy we're there.
So in the most Cleveland way, you guys will be at the 3-yard line, and Baker Mayfield will go for a naked boot and just fumble it by himself.
Not fumble. Mark Sanchez all over again.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, I was thinking more Ernest Biner, but
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you could go with that. You know,
I don't know if that's before your time.
no, it's definitely not. I lived that
He's old.
terrible day.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's our show tonight. That's our we went way over time. Good God. I'm sorry.
Time flies. You're having fun.
Yeah, we were having fun. Tony, any final words that you need to catch up on?
Nah, I just appreciate you guys having me on. It's always fun talking some football and getting together with you guys at the Buzz.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. And it's hard to get you. You're a busy guy. So appreciate you were able to come on the game-winning drive tonight. I love it. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, we Sportsbox and Buzz, we go way back. We're definitely big fans of what these guys are doing. If you haven't liked their page and their stuff, definitely do that. And if you want to look for more of us, listen, we're easy to find at the Sportsbox. We have our NHL preview tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you're hockey guys, which I know Drew is not, so he will probably not be watching that. Maybe I can get Archie to come tell me how good Toronto is. But in the meantime, we're big fans of the guys. Make sure you support them. If you're looking for some other stuff, we're around too. We're hoping everybody does well. That's what we're obviously hoping for.
Tony, are you a hockey guy?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank God. We got something in common.
Let's rework that. I like hockey as a sport. I think hockey did a horrible job in the last 10 to 15 years of promoting it and keeping it relevant throughout the day. I mean, I don't really need to, it's very unrelatable sport to the mass public. I mean, they were on the Outdoor Living Network, the Women's Network, Lifetime. You laugh, but I'm
laughing at Brian's reaction. I'm laughing at Brian's reaction, dude.
They shot themselves in the foot when they killed their deal with ESPN, so it's a shame. The players are very unrelatable. They don't really ingratiate themselves into the community or United States. Most of them leave the country after the season. I'm saying, I mean,
facts that he's stating, though. I mean,
95% of what came out of Tony's mouth is completely wrong.
Okay, all right.
But I do like hockey as a sport.
Oh my God, Alex, any final words, brother?
Yeah. Listen, it's great having you guys on. As always, it's always a pleasure. We enjoy you guys over there at the Sportsbox, and we love when you guys come over and hang out with us. I would be remiss if I didn't mention living so close to the Capitol, what happened today. It's an absolute shame. I mean, criminals are criminals. It doesn't matter who you support, what you believe, who you believe, if it's Antifa, if it's actual Trump support. I don't care who it is. They're all criminals. I hope they get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We have no room left in America for hate and racism and everything that we're experiencing right now. I think it's an absolute shame. I would love for us all to reunite and be one of the greatest countries in the world, like I believe we are. But it's the time we live in, right? And hopefully, I am optimistically hopeful that things might change after the inauguration, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if I have that much faith in humanity anymore, because every chance I get, I find people that I thought were, of like mind to me, that they are spewing hate and idiocracy, and it's just baffling to me. So I hope and pray that we can stay united and we can get this vaccine and we can come out of this depression, as I would like to call it. Not necessarily, financially. For some, it is obviously small businesses, but mentally, right? We can get back to 85%. I keep saying that 85% of normalcy. We might have a chance, right? And hopefully, hate breeds in the dark, right? And right now, a lot of us are in the dark because we're at our home and we're not out in the public and we're not, meeting with other people. And so I hope we can bring some light to this and we stop this nonsense.
Yeah, man, that's a good word. Hey, a couple things real quick. First and foremost, Tony, give respect to your son for what he does for the country, and I wish nothing but the best for him. Really awesome to see the photos you put on your Facebook profile of your boy.
Appreciate it. Thank you. It means a lot.
Second thing, Sportsbox. Couple years. I know Brian for almost going on 3 years. Knowing Tony for almost a year. Guys, I'm so proud of you and what you guys have been able to do. Thank you for all the mentorship that you've done for me, Brian and Tony, and teaching the game to me a little bit more. I love learning, and even from a geek's perspective, from a guy that knows it, that's played it. It's great, man. I love it. Sportsbox is what, 15,000 likes, followers on Facebook now?
We're in the mid-13s somewhere. I don't.
Okay.
15 sounds better, Drew. Let's go with it.
Let's go 15.
It's like 150 million, basically. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I like 150.
Yeah. It's like your stock profits, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We appreciate it, man. I've been trying to get Tony on all season, and I finally got him on after doing his NBA show. Check his NBA show out on Wednesdays. Check out the hockey tomorrow, the hockey preview. I know nothing about it, so go with that. And have a good weekend this weekend, guys. Alex, thanks for the good word as always. We have a few more weeks left, and our season is done. So I'm going to try to get Brian and Tony back on. Maybe we can get them on for the Super Bowl week, talk about the Super Bowl, dive in the matchups and all that. We'll see what happens. Until then, guys, we'll try to do better next time. For Alex and myself, Brian and Tony, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Take care, gentlemen.